Welcome to What Juices You, where we explore what energizes leaders and how that energy fuels performance, connection, and growth. I'm Brady Wilson from Juice Inc. And in each episode, I sit down with leaders and we talk about what fuels them, what sustains them, and the lessons they've learned that can be helpful for all of us. Today, I am totally excited because I have Keith Lewis on the podcast. Keith is the founder of VeraSpark. He's the author of the book called Sparking Your Inner Leader. I've read it. It's fantastic. He's a keynote speaker. He's a master facilitator. He's been around the block. Keith, I could literally go on and on and on, but I want to just welcome you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be here, and it's good to be on a podcast with a good friend.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't say that we've known each other for 31 years, and that ain't nothing these days. So I'm going to start with a question I've been asking leaders for 20 years, and that is, what juices you? But to put a finer point on it, Keith, what juices you when it comes to, I know this is something that lights you up, but we'll get into it, core values, guiding principles, identity, and how those things can be a reliable source of energy in the workplace. So I'll start by, we can go there, but first of all, a little bit about your journey and how you got to be where you are today. And by the way, if you want to ever throw in your experience as a mascot, as Wildcat Willie, it's like just for fun, there's a lot of incredible learnings from that as well. So there's lots there, and you and I are just going to have a great conversation. So totally looking forward to that.
Stop me if I go over 30 minutes answering this first question.
You bet. Okay.
The quick background, I'll just say in terms of what got me to where I am professionally and writing the book. So undergraduate at Northwestern University, when I got to school, my parents certainly encouraged me to get involved in the school. There was an advertisement in the Daily Northwestern that said, try out for Willie the Wildcat. So I grabbed the theater major across the hall, and he and I went and tried out, and I got the job. There were maybe 15 people at tryouts, not that many. And the reason is because Northwestern, their football team was in the process of setting the record for the most losses in a row for a Division I team. So there wasn't a lot of excitement about being the mascot for that team. So I got the job, and that was fantastic. And we can tell more stories about that. But
sure.
After that, I went to work for Leo Burnett Advertising as a media buyer planner. I had a side gig as Benny the Bull for the Chicago Bulls during Michael Jordan's era. So he and I are not very close at all. I don't think you'd recognize me if I didn't have the Bulls costume on. So
right.
And then from there, I went back. I got a graduate degree at the University of Texas in Austin, an MBA, went to work for Accenture in their change management group. And that's where I kind of got the consulting feel, working with clients and really understanding needs. It was a beautiful experience, worked here and in Europe for various clients. And then a quick iteration over to Florida to help a gentleman, a friend of my dad's, open up a golf school in Boca Raton, which wasn't such a great career move, but it was great for my golf game and even better for my personal life. I met Mary there, my wife, so that was fantastic.
You did, okay.
Yeah.
And you got how many kids now? The 3 kids?
3 kids, 3 grown kids, and they're all doing fabulous. We need to visit about that at some point. I want to hear about your family too.
No, you don't want to.
Family's all spread out and doing well.
That's where you met Mary. Cool.
Yeah, that's where I met Mary. And then I went to work at Eagles Flight. That's where I met you and became a facilitator and really learned how to be a world-class facilitator from all the world-class facilitators that work there, and working with amazing content that you developed and others developed. And then when 2001 came around, not a great year, I had already started getting interested in coaching. And I decided to go hang my own shingle and just be an executive coach and continue to facilitate. And that's what I do to this day. I've added the book, so I'm an author, and I'm speaking about that and doing this just to spread the good word about leadership. So that's kind of how I got to here. I think the question you asked about what juices me, especially about the core values and identity.
Yeah.
We can get into this in more detail, but part of it came from my mascot years, and I can talk about that. But part of it also came with some learning I got from Bob Anderson, who is at the Leadership Circle. Bob has a beautiful model called the Universal Model of Leadership, and it really helps leaders see with data, like with really well-researched data,
Yeah.
what makes us effective and what makes us ineffective. And at the very center of his model
Yeah.
is the word identity.
Mm.
Which, when I talk to Bob about that and learn more through all the training, how we see ourselves is critical.
Yeah.
It's the most important thing. And I mean, I can ask you this too. When you see leaders that are juiced
Yeah.
and that are juicing their teams, like how do you think they see themselves?
Yeah. Often I can give you some of that because what they're saying is, I see myself as somebody who contributes to others' success. I see myself as somebody who's making my own contribution in the world. I don't have to make a difference everywhere or limitlessly, but I am making my own unique contribution to this. Those are some of the things that come out like writ large for people in leadership positions. Yeah.
They're super clear about that, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's what I want to do. I can't, I might not change the world, but I'm going to leave my mark in this, whatever it is, recycling business or making
Yeah.
shoes or anything, right? I'm
Yeah.
just do my little piece, and I'm going to develop my people so that they can be successful. Like,
Yeah.
and when they see themselves as that first, they can go do it much, much easier, I believe. And my experience has been that I haven't found that leaders are crystal clear on who they want to
I
be.
can imagine. Imagine. So I can imagine that leaders are piling values and guiding principles and skills and techniques onto this shaky foundation. Is like, and I don't have a clue of what my identity is, and that's going to be problematic.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And the world's telling me, if I'm a publicly traded company, I've got to get my stock price up. I've got to do these things. I've got a board of directors that's putting pressure for this. I've got customers or clients. And so we're allowing ourselves to be, as it's written in some adult development theory, socially defined, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm allowing the outside to determine who I need to be and how I need to react to things, as opposed to being self-authoring and really writing out who I want to be and how I can take that to my board, to the client and the customer, to the shareholders, whatever it may be, so that I can say, this is how I'm going to add the value to the world and deliver it from the inside out.
I can only imagine what that process must look like from a coaching perspective, because that level of introspection and self-reflection and the blind spots that are there. I spent years, Keith, just with a view of myself. So my identity, no matter how much I do, is never enough. And so basically, identity as striver, identity as over trying, identity as just like always performing, right? And so when I got that straightened out, things worked a lot better. But that really can be a jaundiced way of looking at oneself. So how is it that you help people in coaching get to that sense of, here's how I see myself now, and actually it's not helpful for me. My identity, I truly believe it is something else, but it's hard to make that shift from seeing myself this way to seeing myself that way. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, there's tools out there that can help with this, but let me give a couple of ideas or a couple of thoughts.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this, because I'm curious how you might do this as well. You're bringing up, first of all, so many things like blind spots. That comes up in the mascot analogy all the time,
Oh
because
yeah.
I brought a friend, Brady. So see, I have an
Oh,
ego with me. So I brought an ego
my.
with me. But
Yeah.
if you imagine someone putting this on, and you can tell just by looking at it where the line of sight is, it comes
Oh
right here.
yeah.
And for different mascots, some mascots look out of the beak or the neck, or
Sure.
the baseball cap if you're a Syracuse Orange.
Yeah.
So it's lots of different places. But every mascot that has to put on a head, they have blind spots, right?
Yeah.
This person can't see. in
Yep.
various areas. So
Yep.
blind spots in mascots are very common, and how we overcome those. There's lots of different ways, but one of the key ways is we have people that help us, that guide us. So there is
Mm.
certainly that whole idea of getting feedback, right?
Right.
And listening to that. But in terms of, and that will help you see who you are.
Right.
I use, again, a 360 assessment to allow people to see who they are and how they land on other people.
Yeah.
That's an important piece. One of my dad's favorite quotes is from Robert Burns. Is he Scottish? I
Yeah.
put this
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a Scottish poet that said, in Ode to a Louse, I believe is the poem. He says, "Oh, what some power the gifty gie us to see ourselves as others see us." And my dad, used to tell me that, and I didn't quite ever get it, but getting that feedback to first of all see how are we really showing up is important.
Right.
So part of the process with my clients is always gathering 360 data, possibly interviews and other ways to get that, but getting data about how am I showing up. And then the second piece is creating that identity of how do I want to show up.
Yes.
And I take people through a step-by-step process. It's in the book, Sparking Your Inner Leader, as well. But it's a simple process of, first of all, just coming up with core values.
Okay.
I assume, like, I'm curious, Brady, we haven't talked about this, but do you have your own core values?
I definitely do.
And are
And
they, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, my number one core value is creating energizing connections.
Yeah. Fantastic. So,
Yeah.
and the way you have it, right? You don't just say connections.
No.
You say creating energizing connections. You give it some definition, right? So what I have been taking people through is a process to not just have a core value like connection or family or success, because many of us have that. But when Brady translates connection, right,
Yeah.
it comes out a particular way. And
Right.
if I was to translate connection, I probably wouldn't write it the exact same way that you would.
No.
So I have people write out what I call guiding principles. And a guiding principle is simply taking that core value and putting it into like a present tense sentence. So when I read it, I am living it, I am feeling it. And I have some not rules, but suggestions around how to write them,
Yeah.
staying away from the negative, not using words like try or strive, but
Sure.
writing out a guiding principle so that when you read it, you can say, this is the kind of creative connection I create, right?
Right.
What was the three words you said? I'm not,
I
uh,
create energizing connections.
I create energizing connection. Just that, right, is so much more powerful than just the word connection. So that's what I help people to do, because I think that little definition is so helpful
Yep.
in activating what I mean. So yeah, I'll tell you one more little bit, and then we'll continue. But
Yeah.
I haven't been to I think it's the Temple of Apollo in Greece. I've never been there.
Okay. No, no.
Where it says "Know thyself,"
Hmm.
etched in the stone, "Know thyself."
Yeah.
So when I go, I'm going to see if I can sneak up there and just tap into the stone, like "Know thyself," but in detail. I'm just going to add the little "in detail."
They'll appreciate that.
I'm sure they would
That's yeah.
like that. You might have
Yeah.
to bust me out of the Greek jail.
Yeah. For you, what? So give me your core, a core value or a couple, and how that might translate into then a guiding principle. Well, you've got them right there.
I mean, I keep mine in front of me. I try to keep them in a couple of places, and we can talk about the activation part of this as well, because I think
Yeah.
the creation is a huge step,
Yeah.
but that's not the juice. The juice is when I go and activate it and I live it.
Right.
And so it's about, how do I practice, practice, practice? But
Yeah.
I've had and I would say this, we can talk about this, but mine have evolved over time as well. And we should probably talk about that. But one of my thing was fun. Like I want to have fun. I want to be fun. right?
Yeah.
So when I thought about what does that look like, I wrote out, I bring fun, joy, improvisation, and unexpectedness to where I am.
Ah, yeah.
So now, you know, to just pop the eagle head in front of you as an example is just something you
Sure.
didn't know I was going to do. That a little fun, a little unexpectedness. I didn't know if I was going to use it. I keep it here all the time. That's what I do.
Sure.
I'm Scott. So, but now I think about how do I? When am I going to do this? When can I? When can I have some fun? When can I improvise? And so it's helping me take the word fun as something that I want to be known for and activate it.
Yes. That guiding principle for you, does it then show up everywhere? Like, would your kids say, my dad is like, he brings the joy, he brings the fun, he brings that unexpected surprise and delight. Is that what they would say? Putting you
That's a
on the
great
spot here.
question, and the answer is we should ask them. And
Yeah.
I do on occasion. I give my guiding principles back to my family and I say, rate me on a scale of 1 to 10 how I'm doing.
Mm.
But um, I think, I hope that they would say that I am a fun dad. My oldest, my daughter and I, we're going to go on a father-daughter trip. My wife and I used to do
Oh,
this when our kids were younger, go on one-on-one trips,
yeah, yeah.
which was beautiful and lovely. And then we kind of paused it a little bit. And actually, our kids are adults, but we're redoing it. We're starting up again. And
Man.
so my daughter and I are going to go to Disneyland. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what we're going to do.
That is
So
so good.
hopefully, we're going to have a great time. I think we are. I think we're just going to have a lot of fun and laugh and giggle
Yeah.
and be,
Yeah.
be goofy and meet goofy and all that kind
Yep. Oh, it's so beautiful.
of. I have a question for you, Brady. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, for sure.
I because it's this I think you had a huge influence on me about this, especially when you talk about how our values seep into our work and our families.
Okay.
I have a distinct memory when we were both at Eagles Flight and I was
Hmm.
up visiting in Guelph.
Yeah.
You invited me to your house for dinner. Do you remember
Right.
this?
Yeah. Well, I remember you coming out. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we had dinner and your children were there at the table and we had the most beautiful conversation. And it was to me, it felt like a very intentional conversation. You asked your children some very um, open ended, loving, but interesting questions about themselves or about the world. And I sat there because my kids were much younger than yours.
Okay.
And I sat there and I was like, wow, what is he? He is creating an amazing family environment. And I would assume, is that something you did frequently around the family dinner table?
Yeah, I would say the conversation, and I mean, we didn't have phones to get onto in those days either, right? And
Yeah, we
so
did.
there was a bit of a ritual around actually eating together. And so conversation was pretty natural for our crew. And yeah, I was raised by a dad who was super interested, and my oldest brother was like super interested, and so that's what was modeled to me. And so asking questions, being curious, holding people with a sense of awe and wonder, and my kids were included in that. It was actually a really important part of just how we did our meals and how we did our family. And I would say that those kids now, they're doing the same thing. Like, so I have 13 grandchildren, and the oldest is going into midwifery right now. She's 18. So
Wow.
they have, I mean, you can imagine they have really rich conversations. So yeah, I wouldn't say I was the architect of that by any stretch, but I was certainly the beneficiary of it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it was evident sitting at the dining room table about how your curiosity it was developing your children. It was developing I could watch them learn how to think right in front of me.
Right.
It
That's
was such
interesting.
a it was a beautiful thing.
Hmm.
And the other thing you're bringing up, which is such a another just interesting conversation about our values and our guiding principles, you said, that was my dad
Yeah.
and that was my older brother. And this is going back to also blind spots too, because
Right.
we get a lot of our values from our could be from our parents or our grandparents or our cultures
Yeah.
or our experiences. I mean, they come from many different places,
Yeah.
but many of them are blind spots
Yep.
for us. So you
Yep.
mentioned the work you did. You said you had some like success at performance, right? Were some of the values that you were like, are these important? Is that, did I get that right? And
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm wondering,
It's like I've not right.
go ahead.
Well, just yeah, the whole thing of I'm not enough, I don't matter, and so that activated a identity of being an overtrier.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you know where
Mhm.
that even might have come from? The whole I'm not enough. And do you have any
Yeah,
idea
yeah,
where
I
it
do.
might have?
And this, yeah, so this is the other side of it. My mom was a super performer. She was a pilot back in the 50s when very few women were pilots.
Mm.
She managed my dad's optometric practice. So they would fly to all these kind of satellite practices all over Northern Ontario. And she was also a photographer, had a very successful photography business, and then raised 5 kids, and then visited the elderly, and was always knitting and sewing and cooking. It's like she's a paragon. And so I saw that, and I could have gone either way. One is, oh, I can do that as well. But I went the other way. It's like, I will never be enough. I will never be able to match up to my mother. And so it's like, no matter how much I do, it will never be enough. That's the unfortunate conclusion that I came to. So it became a blind spot for me. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. And I think so you talked about process, and I know we want to have some practical applications. So with
Hmm.
my clients, we have them develop their guiding principles, right? So go ahead and
Okay.
get them, put them out. But
Yep.
then over a period of time, we're going to revisit them every so often and go, what is that? What's going on here? And a lot of times things like what you described pop up, like, I'm never enough, and I had
Right.
an overachieving mom, or whatever it might have been in our client's world. And
Yeah.
those come up, and then we can take them and look at them, outside of ourselves, and ask ourselves, how does this serve me? Is this really something that is a, a blind guiding principle, right? It's a guiding
Yes.
principle. It may not be on my sheet, but it's absolutely helping me make decisions in
Hmm.
a way that's maybe driving me a little nuts, or maybe driving my partner a little nuts.
Right.
And so we can start to see those as we go
Yeah.
out, apply the ones we've even defined. We might see some of those hidden ones, and then we can ask questions about, is it time for me to kind of let this go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to say one more thing, and I don't want to be autobiographical, but
Yeah.
all the bells are going off, and this is just how rich your work is. So, just in terms of something that keep going back to them, right? Is I think they are dynamic, and what they were when I was 30 or 40 are not what they are when I'm 67. And just as recent, Keith, as like 3 or 4 days ago, I was just journaling, and this thing came to me that, oh my goodness, I am a ledger balancer. If somebody does something for me, the
Yeah.
instant the response is, well, we're going to have you guys over too. Or as soon as they give me something or help me out with a project, it's like, well, I'm looking for a chance. And so I'm a ledger balancer. Uh, I have to even things out. And so I need to be the contributor, the patron, the giver, and being the receiver,
Yeah.
super difficult. And so I went, that is a problem from a leadership point of view. If I cannot receive people's good intentions and their discretionary effort, and I always have to be evening things out, yeah, that's actually number one, super disrespectful that it doesn't respect people's desire to just benefit others. But it also hampers the flow of just what should be this beautiful flow of giving and receiving rather than I got to earn everything. Right. So it's like there's a blind spot that it came to me like just a few days ago. And it's like, it's shifting how I see myself now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I totally get what you're saying. I do something similar. I've had lovely conversations with a good friend of mine and my wife about this, about, we ask them over and they don't ask us over, and, or just that whole, I call this guy all the time. He never calls me, you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
it's right. And it's so interesting about, where does that come from? Like, where do I get that? Or where
Yeah.
does someone else get that, to be able to go, how well does that serve me?
That's
And
it.
is that really, in the end, I have a good friend here in Austin that, we talk about, when you get to the end and you got to split the bill up or whatever. And people are like, well, I'm $36.24, 8% tax on that. I mean, you know, and this friend of mine is like, just put your card in. We're just splitting it. Like, he goes, at the end of your life, and he has a number, I can't remember what it is, $312.24. He's like,
Oh,
you're either going to be up $312.24 at the end of your life, or you're going to be down. But well, who cares? Just put
exactly.
the card in. Someone's going to pay. One day you're going to pay more. One day they're going to
Yeah.
pay more. And when you apply that to this concept, like you're
Yeah.
saying, you're giving to me this wonderful opportunity to be on your podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'll get to pay you back. Of course, I feel like I love to and I want to, but
Mhm.
you know what? I'm going to pay it forward to someone else.
That's it.
I'll do something for someone else, and in the end, it's all going to work out, right?
Yeah.
But it's great to see, to identify that and to recognize that in ourselves, so that we can then say, is this how I want to show up? Is this
Right.
who I want to be?
Yeah. Bang on.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So, identity, core values, guiding principles, and a process for helping. It's like, this is deep, powerful, and good work. So a leader comes out the other side of this. They may have come in with very significant blind spots. They now have this kind of charter, if you will, and they're starting to figure out, Keith, how am I going to live into that? What does that look like?
Yeah. So there are a few things to, I think, understand about that, and then to
Mhm.
practice. So the first piece is, and again, this is in some adult development theoretical work. It's in lots of different writings and written different ways.
Mhm.
But I think what's important for us to know, and the reason I got into this guiding principle identity work in the first place, is because if we are clear on who we are,
Yeah.
that motivates us to show up that way. And that then creates our behaviors and our non behaviors, the things we choose to do or choose not to do.
Sure.
And that gives us our outcomes, right?
Yeah.
So that's how we get, um, we often think about, oh, well, this outcome didn't happen. And when I coach people, we talk about, what did you do or not do that created that outcome? Because oftentimes we're offloading that, why it happened, onto someone else
Oh
or
yeah.
something else, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, the market this, or my sales team
Hmm.
that, or whatever it might be. And so what it's helpful to see is mindset, motivation, behavior, outcome, to see that
Mm.
eye. Because you can play with this. A friend of mine named Tim John Press developed a tool called the 8 gates. And I think you could look it up online and see. I think he
Mhm.
has things out there, some articles. But it's a beautiful tool that this model is wrapped up in. And what you can do is, you can look at, what's beautiful is, you can look at when people are getting outcomes they don't want.
Yeah.
We're not getting this, the project isn't meeting the deadline. The
Sure.
team isn't motivated. We're not enlightening, we're not getting our clients all excited, whatever it might be. We
Yep.
start at that outcome, and then we look at the individual person and say, so what are you doing or not doing that is allowing that outcome to occur? I'm not saying you're 100% responsible for that, but what are you doing or not doing? And they start,
Contribution, basically.
right, they start laying that out. And
Hmm.
then you start to see, so what motivated you to do that or to not do that? And it might be something like, I didn't want to get in the way, um, of my team. So I just kind of let them run with it. And they didn't, I didn't give them a lot of guidance. I didn't tell them what the deadlines were. Why not? Well, I don't like to get in the way. And then you go back from motivation to mindset or identity or belief or assumption. Any of those words kind of
Sure.
work. But so what are you saying about that? Well, I had a boss that constantly micromanaged. So I don't want to be what do micromanagers do? Micromanagers get in the way. So I'm not going to be a micromanager. So you can
Right.
then look at, so you're not a micromanager, but then what are you if you're not doing that? And they start to go, I'm not an engaged leader.
Right. Right.
And you go, right. So let's talk about what does that mean, an engaged leader? And what do you want to say about yourself? And so then we work towards the identity they do want. So we've uncovered the identity, that secret identity that's been unconscious. But
Yep.
now we're going to uncover. So what do you want? I want to be an engaged leader that motivates my team, that empowers my team, that doesn't get involved in the details, but also holds them accountable. Or right,
Sure.
so you get into what does an engaged leader look like, and now they're working down the, so what do I need to do? That's my part that I am responsible for to help us get the outcome we want.
I love that sequence. And I have a question for you, Keith, and it has to do with valence. And so basically, imagine a parallel universe. You've got a
Wait a minute, I
manager
gotta
who,
go get my dictionary. Hold on a second.
never mind. Uh,
That
but
was the SATs. I didn't do so well.
yeah, you've got a manager who blew up with her team last week, and it kind of got ugly. And she's about to meet with her team, and she has gone in to apologize. Uh, and so she says all the right words, uses all the right techniques. But after everything's all said and done, if you talk to the team members, they go, it felt icky. Like I actually felt slimed and like I was the guilty one rather than the one who got apologized to. And so what's happening there is valence, and valence from my perspective anyway, it's either positive or negative, and it's the relational charge underneath the words, right? And so if there's a sense of irritation and frustration, I shouldn't even have to apologize to you because it really wasn't my fault. But whatever that tone, that
Yeah.
emotional tone or that relational charge is, it doesn't matter what the words are, the residue that's left behind is going to be associated with the valence. Now, the reason I'm asking that is where does valence sit? Is it in identity? Is it in the motivation? Um,
Yeah.
because it matters, right?
Yeah. So,
Intent will always win out over technique. And
yeah.
so we don't want leaders who are transactional or robotic and formulaic. They've got to, especially in a complex adaptive world, they've got to be able to sense and switch. What is the situation requiring?
Yeah.
So in what bucket are we looking at? Is that motivation? Is that identity? Is that behavior? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So help me out though with one quick word, that association. So how do you associate valence and authenticity? What's the relationship in your mind for those?
Yeah, what a great question. I I think that valence is going to ooze out no matter what. I have the choice, and I have the gating process of whether to be authentic and vulnerable about what I am experiencing.
Okay.
So the valence is frustration. I just want to get this over with. I'm irritated with my team. I'm annoyed as crazy. I can either be authentic and say, I need to apologize. And what I'm wrestling with right now is, and I know it sounds crazy, but there's an irritation and a frustration inside of me, even as I'm trying to apologize to you.
Yeah.
But I still want to say that I was wrong and and I apologize to you. And so I think we can have the valence there, but we can always choose to be authentic about that and be vulnerable about that. It's not like we need to make the valence magically disappear, right? Is
Right.
that helpful or not?
Yeah, it is, because the way I don't know, we'll have to go back and watch the tape even of this, but the way you did the feedback and the apology, but it didn't feel good. It felt icky. I could
Yeah,
hear that apology in my head, right? And then the second one that you just delivered, this like, I know I need to apologize, but I feel frustrated and angry. There was a more authentic
yeah,
piece to that delivery, which made you more human, right?
right.
Made you more real.
Yeah,
And this is I will go back to, this is something again that I learned. I have to say I learned this as a mascot,
yeah.
about being authentic and real. And this is going to sound totally counterintuitive, but when I was a wildcat, but let's say I was an eagle. When you get into the costume, like, this thing right here, what is this, Brady?
It's uh, if a representation of something that is emblematic of the team somehow.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, when I hold this up in front of a group, I'll say, "What is this?" They'll go, "It's an eagle. It's a representation of the school or whatever." And I'll say, "Well, actually, it's not an eagle. If we had a real eagle in the room, y'all would all know what a real eagle looks like. This is actually a bunch of fake fur and foam, and some
Right.
it's made up, right? What happens is it comes to
Yeah.
life when someone puts it on, and someone becomes the eagle,
Right.
someone becomes the wildcat. And
Yeah.
what's important about this is the weird part of this, is the if you go to any large university, especially in the United States, Auburn or Alabama, Texas, there is a team of people that are the mascot. There's not just one student typically. There could be
I can
five,
imagine.
eight.
Yes.
And the reason is they have
Hmm.
2,000 appearances a year at some universities. The mascot does. They're showing up at alumni brunches, weddings, homecoming, marketing events, go to we have to put you in the advertisement, whatever it is. And there's no way one student could do all
No,
that. And so
never.
they have multiple students that do it. But what's interesting is each student that becomes the wildcat, when they get in the suit, they stop being Keith, they become the
Yeah.
wild. So they authentically become the character that all these people have agreed to become. The character
Interesting.
that's really belongs to the university or the organization. So
Yeah.
they become, in a way, authentically that thing, right?
Yes.
And it's similar in our worlds too. I want to become authentically who I am, the
Yeah.
authentic leader that I want to be. And so when we talk about valence, if I'm being real and authentic and human, I can struggle. I can say, I owe you guys an apology, but I'm super frustrated about why you didn't come to me and ask me the question, but hang on a second. I know I should have given you the
Yeah.
information in the first place. So
Yep.
it is that ability to be able to balance those things and allow both to exist, right? They can both exist in an authentic, real way.
They totally
And
can.
and that's something that I think is important for leaders.
It is so apropos right now, and I don't want to put a timestamp on this, but in our world, in Ontario here, our premier mandated government workers to come back to the office 5 days a week. So we're 5 years into this. There are people who purchased a house 2.5 hours away. They're
Yep.
caring for their aging parent. They got 3 pets. And it's like now you're now driving into Toronto with, 3 hour, 2 hour commute or whatever. And so the leader has to sit with an employee and have 3 conversations. Why we're coming back? How do you feel about that? And how are we going to work together once we're back? And the leader can be inside that suit thinking, I don't agree with it either. Our
Right.
premier is an idiot. It's like, this is the last thing I'm in the same situation as you. But when they put on that suit, they actually have to align with an agreed upon, in one sense, persona of a leader that says, this is a difficult conversation. I understand that. And we are doing this. And so there are hard edges and soft edges. We can align how we work together once we're back. And there could be blocks of uninterrupted, undistractable work, and there could be blocks of interact. We can figure out how we make it as energizing as possible, but we are coming back. And so Wildcat Willie is looking you in the eye like all the other Wildcat Willies who are having this conversation right now. And there, if you were to be able to talk to all those employees, they would say, yeah, that was consistent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
And I have to correct you a little bit. It's Willie the Wildcat. All my Northwestern
Okay.
are going to give me a hard time if I let
No,
you.
it's Willie the Wildcat. Thank you.
The Wildcat is the appropriate terminology. But yeah, this to me, there's a couple of things at play here. Number one is it's a difficult situation if I don't even agree with the policy. How do I make people, you have your 5 drivers, so freedom is one of the drivers
Yeah.
that juices use. How do I give people freedom when I'm saying, well, you got to come back to work? That doesn't
That's
feel
it.
like it's freedom. It feels like you're locking
That's
me
it.
into those types of things. How does that provide me security if I'm dealing with aging parents and now I've got to have someone else that I don't
You got
trust
it.
to take care of my parents? So there are a lot of drivers that can get harmed by these types of policies.
Yeah.
But the other piece that this brings up for me is again another thing I learned as a mascot, and I learned this one in not the best way, but when you're a mascot, you are a representation of that university,
Yeah.
right? And you become something that people look to and say, this is, in my case, Northwestern University. There was a story many years ago of the person who was the Stanford tree. So Stanford, they have all kinds of weird mascots, but they have a tree, is just a fir tree or a pine tree. Somebody dresses up. Some student did it many years ago and it stuck. But one year at a basketball game, the tree showed up pretty drunk and it was very inappropriate, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There are other stories of mascots doing very inappropriate things while in the suit. And
I
of
bet.
course, you get reprimanded for that, and some get fired. I know of professional mascots that have gotten fired for inappropriate behavior
Yeah.
in a professional suit, and because they're a representative of the university. So let's take that back to the work world.
Yeah.
We know, you and I both know, we experienced this at Eagles Flight. The leaders of organizations and even our direct manager, even if you're the supervisor of 8 people,
Yep.
that supervisor represents the organization to
Yep.
those 8 people. And so if if the premier makes a decision and I'm a representative of this organization, how do I represent the organization well and also be genuine? And again, in my mind, I think it's not an either or, it's that both and that Jim Collins talks about in his books.
I agree. And I think in that, in the pursuit of authenticity and vulnerability, people will over index on bonding, rapport, relatability. It's like, I didn't want this either. Like, this is stupid. You and I are one on this. And it's like, that is the least courageous thing you could ever say. Right? Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're throwing the entire process under the bus. And so, how do I've got my own issues as a leader, or in terms of whether I agree or not, but how do I step into something else that is aligned and unified and consistent and actually serves the person? Because they need to know there are hard edges around this. There are constraints that cannot be moved. And that employee, you have to respect them enough to know that they can take that. So this identity thing you're talking about is really important, because I think identity as a nurturer, identity as that person who will make the pain go away, or identity as I actually am a person who holds out for people's highest good. And there's a hard side of that and there's a soft side of that. They need both. But if
Right.
I over-index on the soft in this difficult situation, for the sake of relatability and being one with them, I'm not serving them at all. So I can just see now how what you're saying around identity is just so vital in like 1,000 different places.
Yeah, and the back to the activation piece of how do I use this?
Yeah,
That's when you go back here, so you get this edict that you have to deliver and live by, and you're like, ugh. So
yeah.
you here and you just kind of, I'm looking down my list and I'm like, what do I
Make it
have?
fun.
Yeah, how can I make this fun, for example? But I might not lean on that one. I have another one that says, I am a stable foundational rock for
Mm,
myself and others. So I'm like, you know what? I can use that one today. I can
interesting.
really dig that. So how can I be a rock that people can grab onto? So I know this is going to be a difficult transition
Yeah,
for you. I'm going to support you through it. If
yeah,
we need to like, take 3 weeks to bring you back in, and you'll need Mondays and Fridays out, and then we're gonna work you until you can be back in. We can do that, whatever it might be. But I'm the
yeah,
rock that you can, I can be that person, or I support others in their journeys. I'm here to help you. So that's why I feel like having your guiding principles nearby and accessible. I mean, I'm very familiar with mine because this is a lot of what I do for a living.
yeah, yeah,
For other people that don't, have them close by so that you can go and access it and say, okay, I'm facing an outside in problem.
right.
How do I want to use my best self, which is what I've identified in these principles, and deal with the outside in the way that I want to show up? That's
Mhm.
where it becomes so powerful, I think.
When you do that leadership 360, do the people who are answering it on behalf of, here's this leader who's looking for feedback, are they apprised in some way of what that leader's identity and core values, guiding principle, or they're just basically coming and saying, no, this is what I witnessed, this is what I experienced? Are there situations where they know that the leader's identity and guiding principles are X, Y, or Z?
Yeah, so this is a great question. You're bringing up, in my mind, this is about process. Like, where do you put this block, then this block,
Yeah,
then this block?
yeah,
And so you might get me to change my process in this conversation. We'll see. But here's how I view it currently: is I'm trying to identify where is someone right now.
yeah.
The name of my company before it was Verispark was called 2 Point B,
Yes.
and if you remember that, I was and I came up with that because I was like helping my clients get from point A to point B. Let's get
Hmm.
where they are to where they want to go.
Yep.
And I still use that model in my head, but the 360 in my mind, we're not going to let those people know anything about our core values or identities, because we just want to know, how am I landing right now? Just And so they go through that assessment. The client gets the data. The
Yep.
client can certainly share the data back, and I do encourage them to share their data with certain groups for sure,
Sure.
and in different ways. It definitely depends on the way the data comes back. But once they have created their own set of guiding principles, then their use of those guiding principles, I am still constantly exploring this with my clients, is how do you want to put them to use? What works for you? Do you want to read Atomic Habits and start developing habits? I had a client that printed his out, like you just saw in mine.
Yeah.
He had a glass door and wall that faced to the hallway. He taped his on the glass door facing out.
Wow.
And when
Yeah.
I walked into his office the first time I saw that, I said, "So George, what are you doing here? I noticed your principles aren't facing you." And he goes, "Well, first of all, Keith, every time I walk in the door, I take a moment to look at
Yeah.
them and
Yeah.
remind myself of how I want to show up. But also, and as important, when anyone else walks in my door, they can look and see how they can hold me accountable to how I want to show up."
Wow.
Right? So I currently, I would say in my process, would allow and encourage my clients to share their guiding principles later so that they can say, okay, you've given me this feedback. I've determined how I want to show up in my life as a leader.
Mhm.
Here that is. Help, please help me and guide me.
Beautiful.
And there's one thing though, Brady, and I'm curious if you face this too, because, we are dealing with something very personal at this point, right? I would say that when I invite my clients to share their guiding principles with others, they're pretty hesitant.
Yeah.
They're pretty like, well, I thought this was for me. I'm like, well, is it for you? I mean, it is for you,
Right.
but who else might it be for? Or how are you going to know? And where can you get support? And so I had a client just last week who just finished his, and he was super happy, really thought it was a great exercise and helped him. And I said, fantastic. What do you want to do with these? And he goes, well, uh, yeah, what do I do with these? And I was like, do you want to share them with anyone? And he went, uh, um, maybe my wife. And it was almost like a question, like,
Right. Exactly.
do you want to share them with your wife? And you think about that, right? Now we're creating it's a lot of vulnerability. It is.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
does, it can scare us. But I think the more people we share them with, the more that we can get feedback, we can ask for help, we can let people know, hey, Brady, before we do this podcast, I'm going to work on my fun and improvisation. I'd love your feedback afterwards. I could have done something like that. But there's lots of ways to bring them to life that way. And I truly believe sharing them and getting your own kind of set of guides, of like a mascot has people that help them see their blind spots, that walk around with them saying, hey, there's a cable over here, you're about to trip on that. Why not create our own set of internal guides that can help us, and that can help us stay accountable to who we want to be and how we want to show up? And I'll just say one more thing about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you about my kids, would they say I'm fun? My kids know I have these. They're also on my bathroom mirror. So, if my kids come into my bathroom, they see them. They know I have them. And there have absolutely been times where they're like, we're somewhere having a conversation. They're like, Dad, are you feeling kind of fun or improvisational? I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. And so it's, we'll laugh or something, or sometimes I'll be like, oh, I didn't sleep last night. But then I'll be like, you're right. I could be a little bit
Right.
more fun dad that you're used to.
Yeah. Oh man. It feels like terrifying to share them because we don't have a very nuanced view of, did I hit this or not? Did I live this or not? I think we have this very simplistic equation in our mind of, this is the preferred vision that I have for myself and that identity. And here's where I am right now. And what I want, I'll share this if I feel like I can come good on it and achieve it and accomplish it. But if not, and it's kind of binary, I either do it or not, without that sense of, there are ways in which I actually live that out. And even in the pursuit of that, there are times when I get it almost right, but the way that I did it and the motives that I did it from. And so I think that understanding the kind of complexity and the swirl of our humanity allows us to say, here's my intention, and I can tell you that I will disappoint you. Right? And I will fail. And I'm not going to use that as an excuse not to share that with you.
Absolutely. I'm a human being, I mean, I know we've had some examples, but Gandhi, Buddha, whoever you want to use, those people did a heck of a lot of work internally in order to become these people who got close to a really, enlightened human being that could go live their lives that way. But that took a ton of work. And And, it didn't, I don't believe those people just came by it naturally. They did a lot of work on themselves to become there.
Yeah.
And we're human beings. I'm going to make mistakes. I don't get anywhere close to my set of guiding principles. I say that. I mean, I'm getting better. I'm
Yeah.
certainly better, but I still have work to do. There's still, and this is something we didn't talk about, should I write values and guiding principles of who I am or who I aspire to be?
Right.
And my answer to that is yes, right?
Okay.
Both. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
both. A little bit of who you are and a little bit of who you want to be, and
Uh,
then just keep working that direction.
yeah. The pursuit and the openness and the really authentic ask for feedback, rather than a perfunctory ask, is kind of important. When our kids left the house, I had a conversation with every one of them, and I said, "Your mom and I have tried to do the best job possible, but for sure, there are areas where we've blown it, and we don't even know what they are."
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
today, as you leave, I am rolling out the red carpet for you. And when you come to that moment, when you're 25, 28, 35, whatever, and you go, "Yeah, dad really said something that was really hurtful to me. I'm just rolling out the red, as I want you to come to me." And I will tell you, my kids have come to me and areas where I thought I was nailing it and I was absolutely doing harm. And it's like that kind of feedback. Uh, it's like 25 years old.
yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah,
But when it comes to you, it is transformative because it doesn't have to be imminent. It doesn't have to be immediate and in the situation for it to mean everything to me. But
yeah,
the reason I say that is when I rolled out the red carpet, I truly was asking for feedback. It wasn't a perfunctory. It's like, no, I know that I've blown it, and I do want to know because this will be for your own transformation.
yeah, yeah. And I love that imagery you've given about I'm rolling out the red carpet for you to return back and give me that feedback. I had a client that I coached probably about 8 years ago or so. He was a CEO of a financial institution, and he was like, Keith, I've got an open door policy, and anybody can walk in my door. And it was true. Anybody could walk in to his door. He had an open door policy. But when they came in and said, "Hey, can I tell you this?" He
Yeah.
became defensive, and he
Oh man.
would explain why. He would either rationalize his, or defend his side of the
Yeah.
story. So what
Hmm.
eventually happened? The door was open, but nobody walked through, right?
Absolutely.
So a lot of how we receive feedback is so important, to listen to it, to not defend, not deny,
Yeah.
not rationalize. And then, you don't even have to say a word. You could just say, all you have to say is thank you. And I really appreciate you doing this. And, you know, my dad, we were talking about, the feedback being a gift. Um, it is a gift, but that doesn't mean you have to keep the gift. You can throw the gift away. You can decide what you want to do with the gift. It's completely up to you. Completely up to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels to me like one of the first things that I want to see in my identity that allows me to be open for when people walk through that metaphorical or figurative door is that I am a needy, broken human being just like you. Uh, you know, and I am I am so far from perfect. And so of course I'm going to need feedback. And of course I've got blind spots. And of course I'm going to blow it. And so I'm not going to shut you down when you start to give me that feedback, because of course I need it. And I think
Yeah.
seeing ourselves that identity as not the perfectionist,
Yeah.
but just that, yeah, I'm just another broken human being.
Yeah. 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 It's interesting because when I do some workshops about giving and receiving feedback, one of the things I draw on the board is a red heart.
Hmm.
Do you ever talk about love in your
Yeah.
work?
Yeah.
And in what context does it come up?
Uh, So we talk about it in terms of holding out for someone's highest good.
Mm-hmm.
And we try to kind of demystify the word, because you can say, I love dark chocolate. I love my dog, Luna. I love Tuscany. I love this new guy that I just met with. Like, there's this like 20 different definitions, and I have no idea what you're saying if you say I love you. And so we're just saying not to get rid of the word love, but a good word, a good way to look at it is, I am holding out for your highest good.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
we talk about it in that context.
Yeah. I think that's wonderful because, um, that's part of, I have to go back to the mascot analogy.
Mm-hmm.
When I mostly talk to NCAA mascots about my journey and their journeys to put the book together. I didn't get into professional mascotting, which is a little different.
Okay.
When you're an NCAA mascot, most of the people that jump in the suit initially are the goofbally, funny people that, outgoing, those
Sure.
types of folks. And you talk to them. I didn't ever talk to someone right when they took the job and say, hey, you know, what are you doing? Why'd you do this? But it's pretty much the way I described. I want to have fun.
Yeah.
I like to perform. I like to do these things. But when they're done, if they had a 1 year, 2 year, or if they were lucky like me, they got to do it all 4 years of their college career.
Right.
When you look back and say, why did you put the suit on? Because, by the way, every mascot probably loses about 5 to 7 pounds if they perform in an entire game. I mean, you are wearing a foam costume. You are dripping with sweat.
Oh my goodness.
You can't see,
Yeah.
you're breathing, and the airflow, unless there's some kind of breathing mechanism, the airflow kind of stagnates. So it's
Yeah.
humid, and it's a tough environment, right?
Yeah.
And the last chapter of the book is called "Is It Hot in There?" which is the number one question that mascots get.
I bet.
You always
I
walk up and
bet.
they're like, is it hot in there? It's got to be hot in there, right? And it is. It's incredibly hot.
Yeah.
The reason these mascots do it is because in the end, it wasn't just, oh, I got to be a goofball. It was about the impact we had on others.
Yeah.
Every mascot I talked to told me a story about visiting the children's hospital, or having the smile on this person's face occur,
Yeah.
or these people, like, people literally in some cases cried because of the impact at a research hospital with some young kids. I'm trying to think of Macy's last name. I'll remember it in a minute. But she was the Alabama Big Al elephant. And she would go to this center where there were kids. And this one kid reached up, petted her trunk, just smiled, and afterwards, she got out of the costume and she checked in with her contact there. And the woman who was the contact was crying, saying, "This child hasn't smiled since he's been here."
Oh my goodness.
And that was the first time he smiled.
Wow.
And we all just were so happy. And we got a picture of him smiling. It's wonderful,
Wow.
right? It's
Yeah.
so impactful. And that's what Macy remembers. Like, that's the thing you want in your heart, is that.
Absolutely.
And you think about that in from a leader perspective. I know we talk to so many leaders, and at the end of the day, when a leader retires, I don't think I've ever talked to a leader and go, "Yeah, man, I am so excited that I got the Lamborghini, I got the house in Aspen, I get to." That's not what they say.
No.
They say, I got to impact 1,000 people with this new product that made their lives so much better. Or I got to develop a team of people
Yeah.
that cared about each other, that showed up, and that did amazing work. Like,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, that's what most leaders actually end up loving, no matter how they come in their freshman year. When they graduate, when they get to the end of that career, that's almost everything that they care about. Is that what you're finding as well?
Totally. And my own version of that is that, so I don't know how many more years I've got, but uh, I just know that at the end of it all, I really only care about one thing, that my employees will say, those were the best years of my life.
Yeah.
Oh, it was hard. We had challenges, but we laughed like belly laughter, and we had some big wins. And man, did we make a difference in the world? Did I ever learn a ton of stuff? And it's like, those were the best years of my life. And now, not everybody's going to say that, but there will be some definitely of the good people that I get to work with that I think will say that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that doesn't come, Brady, because, it wasn't like oh, that's just going to happen automatically. You intentionally
Yeah.
created the opportunity for
Yep.
every one of those individuals from the minute you hired them to the minute they might have left or gone on to somewhere else in their career.
Yep.
You were intentional about that.
Yep. Yeah. Wow. So people want to find Keith Lewis. Where do they find Keith Lewis?
Come on down to Austin, Texas. I'll give you my address. You can come have dinner with us, or we'll go get some breakfast
I bet.
tacos or barbecue. Yeah, online, the best place to find me, certainly at my website. That's veraspark.com.
Yeah.
Veraspark. Vera is
Yeah.
the Latin word for true. So true spark is where that comes from.
Ah,
Vera
yeah.
Spark. Given to me, a great gift given to me by my good friend Doug Upchurch, who has passed away, and I miss him greatly. But he was the one who helped me come up with that. And Doug,
Beautiful.
beautiful soul. I miss him deeply.
Beautiful.
And then the book is Sparking Your Inner Leader. That's available on Amazon, both in hard copy, a soft cover, or on ebook. And you can also get it at your favorite bookstore. Just if it's not on the shelf, which it may not be, you can ask them to order it for you, and they will happily do that.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just want to say for anybody listening, get Keith into your organization, whether it's keynote speaker, whether facilitating, whether you've got people, executives who have blind spots or don't, but could really benefit from some coaching. It's like, I cannot validate this gentleman enough. Just in terms of the substance of who you are. So, Keith, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. People are going to love your story.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I just enjoy visiting with you, and I hope I do. I know you're going to be back in Texas one day, and we're going to meet up there, or else I'll come up
True.
to Canada, and
True.
I'll love to just have another breaking bread with you.
Yeah, I look forward to that.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brady.